Evo just happened. With the pandemic going on and new variants going rampant, it's not really surprising that the event went fully online. As I was watching the regional finals for each game, it brought back some great memories of the time I attended the offline events in Las Vegas. So instead of our usual tutorial and tech video, I'm going to share a personal story of the time I interacted with Japanese speaking players at Evo. This is the story of America-jin reversal. The story takes place in the Guilty Gear excerpt pools of Evolution 2017. I was there with a friend of mine, Magical Mako, who had matches in the early morning hours. We got there early, and since it was fairly empty, we decided to take an empty station and play some matches with each other to warm up. While we were playing, two people walked up behind us and started watching. I'm assuming they were in a similar situation. They had some matches, but came in early to either warm up or watch others play to scope out the competition. Now, before I progress with the story, there are two key things I need to tell you about Magical Mako and myself. First thing is that we started playing Guilty Gear Xrd 2 months prior to this event when Rev 2 update was released. We didn't really go hard and played very casually a couple times a month. So needless to say, we weren't very good. And when I say not very good, I mean we were there to keep people who usually go 0-2 at their locals not go 0-2 at Evo. People who've gone to majors probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The second key thing is that Magical Mako and I were speaking to each other in English because that is our common primary language. Now, why is this important, you might ask? It is because the two people standing behind us, once realizing that we were speaking American English in a native accent, probably felt safe to converse to each other loudly in Japanese. Loud enough for both of us to hear everything. And this is where some of you who follow us on Twitter or watch our streams may realize that I can understand everything they are saying because, well, I am also fluent in Japanese. Fluent to the level where the first thing Tokido asked me when I talked to him at Evo was, "Which part of Japan am I from?" To which I promptly answered, "California." Flexing aside, the conversation between the two started out benign. They were talking about how their day was going, when their pool matches were, and so on. But upon watching the culmination of our 2 months worth of casual play, they started commenting on how bad we were. I did find this rude, but since we were undeniably bad, I chose to ignore. But the conversation kept going until this gem was dropped. こんなもんじゃないの?アメリカ人レベルって。Which loosely translates to, isn't this the typical US player skill level? This made me quite upset. Not upset for me, but upset for the strong American players who spent the time and effort honing their craft in a game that was barely supported by its developers at the time. I wanted to say something back immediately, but kept it to myself since we were still playing. But once the matches ended, I stood up and said, すみませんね、アメリカ人レベルで. Now there's a lot of morals to unpack in the story, such as don't assume things and don't generalize people. It usually never ends well. One piece of advice I can provide from this experience is that if you don't already, you should try picking up a second language or checking out a different culture. By understanding different mindsets, it helps to prevent assumptions and aids with learning empathy, which is absolutely invaluable when learning fighting games. For example, an effective zoner that keeps rushdown characters out are the zoners who understand the language of rushdown. Be one with the gorilla to prevent the gorilla. As a side note, Magical Mako does not speak Japanese, so he was completely oblivious to the situation. The confused look he had after the awkward silence was just hilarious. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you had a similar experience with unsuspecting people speaking a language you understand, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please consider sharing and subscribing. I might do more of these if people seem to like them. Alright, until next time, have fun with the fighting games.